All right, guys, so we got beautiful weather up here today, so I figured I'd do a video for you guys. Today we're comparing the Shadow System CR920P against the Sig p365 AXG Legion. So I've done a video on both of these with a little bit more in depth, so I'm not really going to go into it too much. I'll just kind of compare the two, go over a couple features. But I did mention in my last video with the Sig I was going to do this, so, and just a little background here. So obviously I've led around through both of these, but I've never shot them back to back. So I'm excited to see, because each time I've shot them separately, they both shoot incredibly well. So it's always exciting to have my hands on both and see which one I prefer. So let's quit talking here and do a little bit of shooting. All right, so now I'm going to try to run these two back to back. What I mean is one or two through the Sig, switching back to the Shadow a couple of times. The reason I do that is just to feel the difference directly. So when I'm running like 30 or whatever, a couple mags through each, I can tell the difference. It's not as noticeable because I somewhat get used to one of them, switch to the other. Yes, it's a totally different feel, but I can't really lock down what that is. So for now, let's shoot these two back to back, and I'll let you know what I think. Okay, yeah, that was a good way of doing that. I usually don't do that, but I just thought about it. Anyway, so I guess just off of feel, it's funny because, so let's just stick to recoil here for now, because obviously that's the reason these companies put I feel like I'm talking really loud. I probably am. Yep, it's the headphones. Anyway, so let's kind of talk about recoil here quick. So with the CR920P, I'm just going to start here. It has like a, I don't know how to explain it. So it has a looser feel, if you will. So when you fire the gun, it's so soft. If anybody here, you know, obviously people have, if you shot, say, something like an M9, the recoil on that's really soft, right? There's recoil, but it's really soft. And I know I'm kind of comparing two different things here. I'm just trying to compare it to a firearm that a lot of you are familiar with. So it just has a really controlled feel, but something about it doesn't feel, trying to think of the words here and not confuse anybody or myself, which is really easy to do. It has a little bit just looser feel, you know, really controllable recoil, and it's so smooth feeling. It's I don't know, I'm smiling about it because it's such an enjoyable handgun to shoot. It's a different impulse with this. It feels a little bit more sloppy, but not in a bad way. Not in a bad way at all. You're just used to, you know, a smaller platform like this to be a lot more snappy. They almost feel more crisp, if you will. But this doesn't have that feel. It's so smooth and forgiving. Yeah, so with the Shadow, I really like how that feels. I'm just trying to think here. And then with the Sig 365 AXG Legion, this has the opposite feel. So when I'm talking about kind of that loose, kind of slop feel, this doesn't have that. This has a lot kind of quicker of an impulse, if you will, but not harsh. It's just quicker. It feels like it has a little bit more of a snap to it, but not in a flip. Almost more just impulse backward. And I said that in my video when I reviewed it. It has a weird impulse where it doesn't flip up. You just almost feel it directly in your palm, which is actually, I like that feel a lot. It just feels responsive. I'm going to shoot a couple more through these. I'll get a different angle for you guys. Actually, I'll run one in slow-mo so you can kind of see. I know it's hard because my grip's not always perfect, but that way you can maybe see how much it flips up in plane here. So let's go to that, and then once I get done with that, I'll run down the two and let you know my final thoughts on them. All right, so that was kind of a comparison between the two. Obviously, I have videos on each of these on my channel. If you haven't watched them, be sure to watch them. So I'm just gonna go over a few things since I broke it down a little bit when I was shooting. I'm kind of gonna go over how they shoot, how they feel. As far as accuracy goes, that's going to differ between everybody. Myself, I'm a really average shooter. I do quite a bit of shooting, but there are far better than me, and I'm sure there are some worse. But everybody is different, so I'm just going to go over kind of what sight picture I prefer. Obviously, these do not have optics on them. They're both optics ready, and then we'll talk about price point. So as far as how they shoot, the 365, let's start with that. It has very, very minimal recoil. Obviously, it has the ported slide, which everybody is aware of. They introduced that with their macro version a while ago. I did a video on that as well, but that had the polymer frame. This one has a steel frame, so it adds a little bit of weight, so that's going to mitigate recoil a little bit by keeping it down. That would be a con to some people, but I actually like that feeling. It just feels a lot more solid, kind of a lot more quality, if you will. So yeah, the recoil is nothing. It actually, I like how it feels. It feels really crisp. I mentioned that in the video when I compared the two back to back. It feels really crisp. It doesn't flip much. You feel most of the recoil in your palm, but that recoil is very, very minor. So I really like how it feels. It's going to be a preference thing. Let's talk about the sights quick. So I showed that in the video before. Let's hope we can get a decent view here. So there they are. They have the tritium sights on it, kind of that bright front sight, and it's pretty dark in the rear. I like that. If the rears aren't pretty dark, I have a hard time, say you have the 3-dot, I have a really hard time deciphering between the two. I mentioned this before, I'm colorblind, so I have a hard time, you know, keeping it separate, I should say. They kind of all blend in, and I have a little difficulty there. So I like the sights. Some people may not. A lot of people are going to run red dots, so you're not going to care. That being said, let's talk price here. Boy, are they all over the place. When you couldn't get them, when there was only the pre-order, I know they're available some places now, but when you could only pre-order, they were around $1,200, I think, through Sig. Now I've seen them from $1,200 to, they were selling them on Gunbroker for like $2,000. If you see this for $2,000 and you can afford it, that's really awesome. Go for it. But if you want to wait a little bit till it's in your store, I'm guessing it'll be somewhere around 12 to 13, 14, somewhere in there, which is on the very high end, in my opinion, for a carry handgun. But that being said, I do not regret getting this at all. It's quickly becoming one of my favorite carry guns and just guns to shoot on the range. You know, obviously it has the Legion name on it, so that kind of bumps up the price a little bit. But as far as just the overall platform, I am in love with it. I've said this to friends, anybody, you know, who's asked about it. It is an awesome feeling handgun, and if you can get your hands on one and you're not sure and you can shoot one, shoot it, because I'm pretty sure you'll be taking one home after you do that. So let's talk about the CR920P here. I'm trying to keep this a little bit shorter. I always ramble, and I apologize for that. So the CR920's been out for a while, and then they went to the P version. That has the compensator on the end. That's just a 3-lug system. There's a little pin in here you press, it pulls this latch, and it slides off. So that is something that can be removed, and you need to remove it with cleaning. How this one shoots, I mentioned it before, it has a really, really sloppy feel, but don't take that the wrong way, because it's a really fun, loose feel, if you will. you know, you can tell the tolerances are a lot looser on this firearm. The slide moves up and down a lot more, and even side to side. So that does help a little bit with reliability. And you know, you guys that have followed the channel and seen the video on this prior, I had a little bit of issue with it during break-in, but now it seems to run great. But I do really like the impulse on it. It's super fun, and honestly, if I'm gonna say which one of the two is a smoother shooter, I'm gonna say a 920p. Not by much, but it feels totally different shooting the two. If you grabbed one, you wouldn't say, oh, this is a lot better than that. If you shoot them back to back, you may notice, but some of you would prefer the Sig, some of you would prefer this. So, and as far as sights go, very similar to the 365, except for the rear is completely blacked out with the tritium front. So I really, really like that. That's my ideal sight picture. I mentioned this before. And I was talking about feel on that, how the quality feel. This just has a totally different feel. And honestly, when I go from the Sig to this, you can see I have an extension on this. So this is a 13 round mag. One thing that always throws me when I go back to back is how it's not flush here on the grip, which understandable. I'm just saying when I go between the two, it feels a little bit awkward. I still enjoy how it feels, but personally between the two, the Sig to me feels much better in my hand, and everybody's hands are different. I got these tiny hands, but they both work great. Let's talk price point really quick. So I think when this came out, it was around 900 something. You could probably find it out there for mid eights, anywhere from, you know, 850 to 950, which again, it's higher, but you're saving quite a bit if you're between that and the Sig. Which one do I prefer? Overall, I'm gonna say the 365 right now. I was never a big Sig fan, but when this Legion came out, I didn't hate the 365. I just never loved it. I never thought it was anything super special, but when this came and I was able to get my hands on it, there's something about it. I think with that steel lower, it just adds just a feel of quality. They look great. I don't know. I love Shadow stuff, but if I'm picking one of the two, I'd go with the Sig. That being said, the Shadow has always been one of my favorite carry options. Excellent to shoot, excellent company to deal with. I know Sig's a little bit tough right now. They have some bigger contracts out there. They're probably worrying about that more than the civilian side of things. So if that means anything to you, I've had nothing but good luck with Shadow. So hopefully this video wasn't too long, guys. I just wanted to get this out there. Some people seem interested, so I really appreciate you watching. I appreciate all the support. Let me know in the comments below if there's anything you guys want to see. I try my best to get my hands on as many firearms as possible, but as hopefully most of you know, I get zero support through any company, so it all has to come from me, which I enjoy doing. It's just not always plausible to go buy every new firearm that comes out. So that being said, let me know what you want to see. I'll do my best to get it done. Thanks for watching, guys.